Welcome back to another episode of the Nick Solomon Show, Sports Chatter Podcast. Real quickly, I want to give a quick shout out to all the people who supported me and helped me along my journey to really get this podcast going. Appreciate all the viewerships for episode 1. If you hadn't had the opportunity to watch my first episode, don't worry about it. You don't need to watch these episodes, these podcasts, in a certain order. But if you want to, you can go ahead and catch the first episode. The link is down in the description. All right, let's just get cracking on to it. I want to talk about the number 1 overall pick in this past year's NBA draft, Victor Wembanyama. 7'4", 215 pounds, soaking wet maybe. Visually, he looks very awkward, even from a basketball player's standpoint. Very lean, almost looks like a walking stick. Let me just throw out some numbers for you through his first 8 games in the NBA. Roughly 19 points, 8 rebounds, 2 assists, 2.5 blocks. It's not bad for a rookie through 8 games, mind you. Here's where the question mark comes into play, though. He's 7'4", 215, athletic, has a handle, can shoot the J, has a great shooting motion. He's shooting 44% overall. 30%, just below 30% from the 3. Now, just below 30% from the 3, no one's really going to question that. He's 7'4" and he's shooting threes. That's insane. So I think a 29% clip, I think people will be okay with that. 44%, I have a bit of a problem with that. Now, I'm not here to knock the kid. 44%, you're 7'4". That should easily be 10 percentage points higher at least. There's only a few players in the league who can even match you height-wise, but your length is also what separates you as well, and your athleticism. You're supposed to be the greatest prospect to come into the NBA in almost NBA history. 44%, probably his very, very lean frame is a good indication of why that is. Teams are pushing him out further out into the paint area. I don't know if I was the San Antonio training staff, I'd be working with him in the gym night and day. Now I get it. Giannis Antetokounmpo's transformation from his rookie year to what he is now, very much night and day. Dude came in just as thin, just as frail. Dude has a grown-ass NBA body now, Giannis does. So it does take time. It does take patience and dedication. Do I think he can add a little bit more muscle onto his frame? I do. The concern is, and though it's always been a concern for big men his height, has been foot and knee problems. So is adding more weight going to be a future issue? Who knows? There are some things you just can't guard because of his height. Can't guard him shooting. If he has you back to the basket, you're not going to be able to block any of his shot in the paint. He has a handle, so he can go by you if you're a 5 or a 4 switching on to him. But 44% is a bit alarming. What I would do to stop him as a team, especially, any guy's going to be undersized. Joel Embiid is undersized compared to Wemby. What I would do is I would front him. I'd get a little physical with him, put my arm into him, let him know that you're there, and back him out of the paint area, because there's pretty much nothing he's going to do about that at this point in his career, that frame and that weight. Once he puts 15, 20 pounds on over the next few years, I don't know. He definitely is a prospect that I at least have never seen before. So I'm excited for that. The other concerning thing, and this goes more to the San Antonio Spurs coaching staff, he's playing 29 minutes a game, averaging 29 minutes a game. If you bump that up just to 33 minutes, if I do my math right on this, his totals will look something like 22 points, 10 rebounds, 3 blocks. As a rookie, that would be dominant. 22, 10, and 3? Absolutely. Why they only have him 29 minutes? I don't know. Adjustments in the NBA. Maybe it's the Spurs trying to load manage by not load managing. There's some very interesting matchups that I can't wait for him to play against in the NBA. Chet Holmgren, they're already dubbing that as a rivalry between both of them just because of one preseason match. I get it. Chet didn't play at all last year. He has the same sort of build and skill set coming out of college. Interesting, though, he is a bit shorter. Everyone's a bit shorter to Wemby. But that is a really good matchup. Their stats are actually very similar. The only difference is Chet is shooting 55% from the field compared to Wemby, 44%. I'm also interested to see him versus Kristaps Porzingis. They're like coming out. That is who the comp player I had for Wemby was Kristaps. The height, the build, the touch, the shooting. There might be a bit more athleticism with Victor Wembanyama than there is Kristaps, and there might be more prowess on the defensive end, and a little bit more ball handling goes to Victor. Everything else is very comparable to Kristaps. So I'm very interested to seeing that matchup. And then just seeing him versus Giannis. You know, there is this picture floating out there where you have Giannis standing next to Wemby, and I've never seen Giannis look smaller in my life. It's a very interesting photo, but I cannot wait for those matchups versus Wemby. It would look very, very cool. I want to talk about the Colts now. It only took 2 episodes. Some people might say, wow, that's early. Some people would be like, it took you that long to talk about the Colts? I know. So here we are. We're going to talk about the Colts. But it's really the Colts offense I want to talk about here. They are the only team in the NBA this year to score 20 points per game in every single game. The only team in the whole NFL to score at least 20 points in all 9 of their games that they have played. That's an incredible stat. Their offense is not the issue here. Their offense is putting up enough points. Their offense, let me just read some of their stats here. They have a top 10 scoring offense. They're 12th in offense overall, 11th in passing, 10th in rushing, 7th in points per game. Their offense isn't the issue. The offense is keeping them in games, even with the quarterback switch. It's their defense. I don't want to be too negative here, but I got to say the truth. I was one of the people last year that blamed the offense in 2022 for the lack of success that the Colts had overall. Their defense was a top 10 defense for a majority of the year, top 5 for a majority of the year, and then kind of fell off a cliff. But you can only do so much as a defense. You can only hold on so much if your offense fails to give you anything. Your defense is going to crack eventually. I don't care who you are. The offense is not the issue this year. The defense isn't producing. Defense isn't closing out these games. Great example of it was the Cleveland Browns game 2 weeks ago. We were in position to win that game. All the defense had to do was stop the Browns on their last drive, and they drove the ball 90-something yards down the field. I mean, that just can't. All you have to do is get to the quarterback, and I had some big issues with the referee calls at the end of that game that determined the game. But you put yourself in that position to begin with. You have an outstanding defensive front. Yes, you're a little bit young in the back end of the defense. You're going to go through some growing pains. But geez. So I'm very disappointed in their defense this year. Stat-wise, they're middle of the pack, which isn't bad. But they are the 28th, 26th scoring defense. You can't have that. You can't have that and expect to win games, especially when your offense is putting up points, especially when they are on a historic rate of the only team to score 20-plus points in every single game. Colts are 4-5. should be a bit different, but I'm not going to go back and play that what if game as much as I would like to do. To me, I don't know what you could change defensively. The biggest thing that stands out to me is Gus Bradley could blitz more. We're ranked way in the back half of the league in blitzing teams. I get it. You want to stick to your schematics, stick to what got you there, stick to what you're good at. I get it. But you also have some players that can get after the quarterback. If you design just a bit more blitzes, add 3 or 4 more blitzes in throughout the game, I'm pretty sure it would make a big impact than just rushing 4 and dropping back everything else. You got to pressure the quarterback in this league. You got to get to him. That's what affects throws. You just let a quarterback stand back there and read where he wants to go. Even if you've covered everything, you've done everything right as a defense, the quarterback can still make something happen if you give him enough time. So we do have the defensive front line to get after him, to do the 4-man front, but they just haven't gotten home enough. We still are top 10 and sacking the quarterback, which is good. But in crunch time, in the fourth quarter, the Colts defense has not been there. And that was a trend of last year, but I chopped it up to the offense not producing last year. I can't do that anymore this year. IU's men's basketball team kicked off the season last night. College basketball is here. They got a win versus Boulder Gulf Coast, but the win was a lot closer than what it should have been. But they did win. It was at home. Assembly Hall was rocking. The plan. Just say my quick expectations for the IU basketball team. They should be a tournament team. That should be their expectations every single year. You're one of the best college basketball programs in the nation. And you've sort of underproduced for a very long time. I know Mike Woodson has gotten to the tournament every single year since he became the coach. But you got to go further than the second round. Sweet 16 at the very minimum should be the expectation for this team. A lot of new parts. There's only a few veteran voices on this team. Transfer portal came in huge. We do have a big signing with Mackenzie Mbako. I apologize if I butchered your name. I believe that's how you pronounce it. So Sweet 16 should be their expectations for this year. I don't know where in the Big Ten standings they could finish, but they should finish near the top. A lot of new faces, but like I said, there are some veteran presence here, one of which is Xavier Johnson. He's a 4th or 5th year player. It's his time to really stand up and lead. Last year, we had Tracy Jackson Davis. We had, oh goodness, I cannot think of the power forward's name, who was also a 4th or 5th year senior as well. But we had some staples there, some veteran leadership on our team last year. They're all gone. Xavier Johnson, Trey Galloway, it's your turn to step up and lead. Xavier Johnson, this is essentially your team. You're the point guard. You have complete control over the offense. You should be able to get the whole offense going here, as well as set the tone defensively as well. You should be the head of the snake. So I am putting a lot of pressure on you, but I believe that you can take it. Because before you transferred here and you came from Pittsburgh, I believe, you were believed to be that sort of really good rotational fill-in piece. Well, you've had some years now here at IU. This year should really be your year to do this. And that leads me into my next topic here. It's the college basketball one-and-done system here. Xavier Johnson is like as I was just mentioning, is a senior in college or a 5th-year senior in college. I bet you in the NBA he's going to do really well. How do I know that? Because he's had a lot of playing experience. He understands the game fundamentally a bit more. His body, he's been able to physically take the toll, at least in collegiate standpoints, but at least he knows how to properly go about doing what he needs to do, training in the weight room. The biggest thing I just want to say is I just have huge issue with the whole one and done policy that the NBA has. I think it should be at least 1 year. I think right now it's an age thing. You have to be 18, I think, to enter the NBA draft, which is a lot of players' freshman year or after their freshman year. 18 or 19. I think it should be 20 years old. You have to be at least 20 years old to enter the NBA draft. And I think there's multiple benefits that also support my reasoning with that. Not only do you get a little bit more veteran presence coming to the NBA, a little bit more NBA ready, skill-wise, mentally-wise, physical-wise, it all benefits the NBA game. I get it. The more tape you have on someone, the more flaws you can find, which is why you don't see a lot of juniors, seniors, even sophomores drafted in the top 5 or even the top 10. It's all freshmen. It's all overseas players now. I'm not saying that these players wouldn't have good NBA careers or they're not really great prospects. But if you look at some of the really good players in the NBA right now, a lot of them spent some time in college, and it's paid dividends. And I'm going to give some examples of it just from the past couple drafts here, the 2021, 20, 2019 NBA draft. Franz Wagner, who currently plays for the Magic. He came out in the 2021 NBA draft. He was the 8th overall selection out of Michigan. He came out as a sophomore. He's a really, really good starting piece for the Magic. Really good NBA player. Same draft, Corey Kispert. He was a senior in college out of Gonzaga when he came out. He was a 15th overall selection. He's a really nice piece for the Washington Wizards. His scoring increase from his rookie year to last year went up 6 points. He averaged in double figures last year. He's off to a pretty good start this year. Take it back even further. For the New Orleans Pelicans, where they struck gold twice, Herbert Jones and Trey Murphy. Both of those were juniors and seniors, respectively, out of college. They're both absolutely fundamental pieces for what they're trying to do down there in New Orleans. Tyrese Halliburton for my Pacers. He was the 12th overall pick. He was a sophomore out of Iowa State. He came in ready to go. I don't really know if he specifically would have been that ready to go as a freshman. Cam Johnson, Grant Williams, both seniors in their respective drafts when they came out. They both have outstanding college careers for North Carolina and Tennessee, respectively. Both are absolutely key pieces on their teams going forward. Actually, going forward, in the past, they have been. Jalen Brunson's another one out of Villanova. For him, I think it was just the opportunity. Not that he didn't have the skill there. It was just someone needed to give him more of the opportunity. So here's my thing. Here's my proposal. And this is something the NBA, I wish that they would take more emphasis on. Just push it back a little bit more. This benefits both the NBA and the collegiate basketball scene, especially now that NIL is a thing and a transfer portal is wide open. If you had more returning players in college, it would create more excitement around college and not just the NCAA tournament. But during the in-season as well, you'd have more veteran presence come back. It'd be more of a cleaner game. There's just so much more positivity with bringing back returning players instead of you just going for your freshman season, bolting for the NBA. It also helps the NBA because you get more NBA-ready prospects ready to go and help your team. Yes, the NBA G League is an avenue that some of these players can go, which is very similar to the NBA. That route is okay, but just strictly the NBA itself, I think it's a huge benefactor, and it's been proven again and again that those who stay do become really good NBA players. Sometimes it does take time, but you can tell the difference between the one-and-done players and then the players who are returned for either their sophomore, junior, or senior year. So that concludes episode 2 of the Nick Solomon Show, Sports Chatter Podcast. We really hope you enjoy it and look forward to next week. Thank you. Please subscribe.